in this one, I want to talk a little bit about how to set up a study space. Like, are there things that we should have or something that we can do to kind of help trigger our brains into work mode?
Yeah. So setting up your study space is something that you want to do a little trial and error with. There are a lot of folks that will say, like, never study in a crowded space. It should always be quiet. And I don't tend to think quite that rigidly. I think you need to really figure out what works for you, but also what works for the type of studying you're doing, right? Like different kinds of studying, whether it's a different class or like I need to just memorize some things versus I need to be able to apply it. See our video on Bloom's autonomy. Like you might need different types of environments for that. The one rule that I actually do think is important is not studying in your bed.
Yeah.
Which is... I will say I did that all through college. It's
your limited space. Same.
Right. You have limited space, but if you can avoid studying in your bed, that is something that I recommend.
Yeah. It creates a lot of problems because our brain is a pattern machine and it recognizes that environment as a cue for this is what we do in the space. Mm-hmm. And so if you only sleep when you're in bed, then your brain kind of goes, oh, if I hit the bed, I go to sleep. Yeah. And it creates a really good, healthy habit of sleep.
Yeah. It's good for your sleep.
But if you're sitting in your bed, now the brain gets confused. And so you ever have that thing where it's like if you were sitting in your bed a lot and then you like put the books away, okay, it's time to sleep now. And the brain has no concept of like, this is, yes, because you've trained the brain to say like, this is the space that I learn. And so you're not going to sleep, you're running through your bed.
I had a doctor tell me once that the only things you should do in your bed is sex and sleep. And that seems like solid advice because then your brain is primed and your body is primed for those things and you're not like revving yourself up, but you're also not then when you're trying to study falling asleep.
Right. That was always my problem.
Yeah.
It's like I would fall asleep on the book. And so you're giving your brain these contextual clues of like, well, this information is not that important, so we can just kind of not pay that much attention because you're in your resting space. So finding a physical space, then she said, outside of where it's your resting space. So even if you have like a comfy reading chair that's supposed to be a relaxing space or journaling or meditating, don't lose that for study space either.
On the floor next to your bed, right? Like as long as you're not in your bed, which, whatever, take or leave, do your own trial and error experimentation here. One of the things that a lot of folks say is you need to be in a quiet space, which is why people say go to the library because it's quiet. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. And if it was quiet in our house,
something went wrong.
Somebody was dead or in big trouble. And so quiet still, but like for a really long time, kind of freaked me out. Like I got a little nervous and unsettled, like it's too quiet. What's going to explode here? And so but my nervous system would be like on edge and I couldn't focus. So what I would have to do is go to the coffee shop as opposed to like the quiet floor in the library. And I would still I would put my headphones in and put some music on that would like push me into a focus space, but at least there was enough ambient noise that my nervous system could calm down.
Yeah.
That said, I know a lot of people where it does need to be really quiet because that's how they are able to focus and they don't get distracted. And so that's something that you're going to need to figure out as well. Like, should it be quiet? Should it be a little bit noisy? If it is a little bit noisy and distracting, how do I get myself to focus in, whether that's headphones, music, whether it's, whatever it is. I like to think about rituals with studying, right? We think about athletes often have a lot of rituals, right? Like the NBA players with the I have to bounce the ball 3 times, then I have to pull my shorts down to do this other thing before I can shoot a free throw. But rituals also help calm and prime our body into
pattern machine
patterns, right? And so if you have a ritual of going to the same place, doing the same thing, you have have a daily journaling habit. I have one pen that I can write with, right? Because that is part of my ritual. And so doing those things that you can build patterns, and you don't have to build the same pattern for every class, and actually potentially building different patterns and rituals for different
or just being physically in different spaces too for the different subjects helps kind of like focus you in.
You need a lot of quiet for your physics homework because that is something that's difficult for you and you really need to concentrate. Okay, maybe being in a space that really helps you do that. If you need a space for your anatomy class where you can spread out and you can, think of different things and you'd be like, okay, let me, spread out my notebook so I can do some drawing, then you might want to be in a different space for that. But using different notebooks, different locations, figuring out what time.
Oh, that's cute.
You, right? Like,
you got to do it on your circadian rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my husband is one of those people that would like wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. He doesn't do that anymore, thank God. But that was like his premium time, is where he felt really good. If I tried to wake up and do anything at 5 a.m., it would not be successful, right? And so I'm a night owl. And so it would be like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I'd be like just getting into prime studying mode. And he's like, I'm going to bed, right? Like, I'm tired. So figuring out what works.
Well, and that's also huge, because if you're trying to do things outside of your body's normal circadian rhythm, you're going to stress yourself out, and you're going to release too much stress hormone, and then that makes it actually less productive of a study session.
Yeah.
And it might actually make you more tired, which then throws off sleep. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole.
So knowing what your body rhythm is.
Yeah.
All right, now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What are you putting in your backpack to go to a study session?
Oh, what am I putting in my backpack? I like to, before it even gets in my backpack, because I'm type A, I like to have all of my stuff for a single class or topic together. So like, instead of storing all of my class notebooks in one space and all of my textbooks in another space, like, have your bio textbook and your bio and your bio folder together, because then you don't have to go searching. One of the things, so cognitive load, right? The fancy term for like how much battery and juice we have in our brain, which is limited. If we can reduce the amount of cognitive load on things like figuring out where our stuff is, figuring out where to go study, figuring out what time to study, you can save that juice, which is actual studying.
Great, actually, that you mentioned that, because like, if you look at like why students skip out on like making a study plan, they're like, I don't have time to do that. I'm like, but that decreases so much stress, because part of that study schedule or study plan is, where am I going? What am I studying? Yeah. And now you don't have to keep doing it.
Yeah. So decision fatigue, which is how we make hundreds and thousands of little decisions every day, and we don't even realize it. But every single decision like depletes that cognitive juice that we have. And so if we can, that's why habits and rituals are really great, because they reduce the amount of decision making that you have to do. If you can, like, on a weekly basis, do just like a little meeting with yourself of like, okay, when am I going to study with this week? What do I need to study? What assignments are coming up? Build in that plan. Like, okay, I'm going to study at 3 p.m. on Tuesday after my last class. Then when you're tired and maybe a little hangry, and your caffeine high is coming down because it's 3 p.m., like, it's going to be harder to make that decision of like, okay, what should I study now, or should I go do this other thing? Pre-committed, you've pre-decided, you're more likely to actually do that thing and go study than like go play Xbox or whatever it is that you do to like de-stress. And
all right, I'm swinging you back to what else is going in the bag.
What else is going in the bag? So textbook, materials, notes. I usually pack markers because I'm a color.
No, I was waiting for that. I was like, I'm the same. Color code it.
I like sticky notes because I can write things down. I actually wrote my colored papers in college via sticky notes. Again, I'm a humanities student. So I know most of your people are science students, but like, y'all have to write too, right? You have some gen eds and you have some lab reports to write. So I would write like quotes from my different sources on a sticky note, or like big ideas. And then I could literally, instead of outlining on a single paper, I could move them around and build my outline. And I think, honestly, they probably work with lab reports too, with like, here's a key finding and here's this. And then you can sort of organize them. And as it was a way to think through the organization of the paper and then like get that sorted, but also made it really easy to move around. And also, if I was like starting to write, be like, this is not working the way I thought it was really easy to rearrange and re-out.
I could have used that like 2 months ago before I was writing my last.
Yeah, sorry, shouldn't share that.
That's totally fine. I love that though. I usually color code my stuff like that, or like color code with my highlighter. So I'm usually bringing a highlighter. You mentioned earphones. I think that's kind of, I was a variety of snacks. I never know what I want. Water, overall health, hygiene, really great for studying. I also do a different suggestion sometimes too, depending on what I want out of the study session. If I'm working on higher level Bloom's taxonomy, so like this is a suggestion I give for students. If you have some anxiety around testing, you want your first go around of feeling on your own not to be the actual exam. So sometimes I say, don't take the bag with you.
Yeah.
Don't bring anything. Take just the printed practice questions, to a physical space, leave your bag at home, and it will feel different. You'll feel like you're out alone, like I have to figure this out on my own and come up with things on my own, versus that like just knowing that it's there and that you can look at.
Yeah, that's a really great general study session, is to like treat your homework like,
yeah,
right? Even if you've got the backpack with you, leave all the stuff in the bag, pull out. I know everything is digital these days, which can make it a little harder, but if you have a printed copy of something, pull it out and treat it like an exam, even though it's just your homework.
Yeah.
And that's going to both give you a really good assessment of what you already know, but then also be able to clue you in of where you need to spend your time studying.
And it gives you opportunity to make mistakes, because we want to make mistakes so we can learn from those, versus like, I don't know that one. Let me look in my book real quick. You want to go through that process of trial and error.
Yeah.
All right. Any other suggestions for physical spaces on studying?
Check out your tutoring spaces, your academic support spaces on campus, wherever that may be, whatever that may be for you. We have drop-in centers on our campus, and a lot of students come and they just sit there and do their homework, and they know that if they need help or have a question, somebody will be there, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But again, it like this idea of like body doubling, which is something that like folks with ADHD often use, is just like being in a physical space where other people are not even doing the same thing, but they're like also working.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why going to the library tends to work, because people tend to be studying in the library as opposed to in a coffee shop where they're maybe socializing and doing other things. But like if you're in an academic support space, like a tutoring center or something like that, the other people around you are likely to also be in that like study work mode. And so that can actually help you, even if you're not talking to any of them or working on the same assignments, just get into that mode of things.
All right. Well, that's some great advice. Thank you.